Welcome to Live Without Limits. Transform your thinking to redesign your life. I'm your host, Davida Shensky, and today we're diving into an important but often overlooked dimension of well-being, your intellectual wellness. When people hear wellness, they often think of physical health or emotional balance, but intellectual wellness is just as vital. It's about keeping your mind active, curious, and challenged so that you grow every day. Here's a question to start us off. When was the last time that you did something that stretched your mind, something that sparked curiosity, or made you see the world differently? It's been a while. Then this episode will give you some practical ways to bring intellectual wellness into your daily life. One of the things that intellectual wellness does, it keeps your mind sharp, because as you get older, you do get forgetful, and also because you take so much new information in, and because you're selective, that later in life, it also affects your memory. Therefore, it's very important that you look and understand what intellectual wellness is and how it affects you on a daily basis. So, what is intellectual wellness? Intellectual wellness is one of the 8 dimensions of wellness, alongside physical, emotional, spiritual, and others. It's not about how many degrees you have or how academic you are. It's about being a lifelong learner. It's the habit of asking questions, staying curious, and seeking new experiences that expand your perspective. When you nurture intellectual wellness, you build mental agility to adapt to change, improve your problem solving skills, boost your creativity and innovation. Find greater life satisfaction because your mind stays engaged. Think of intellectual wellness as exercise for the brain. Just like muscles weaken without use, your mind dulls when it isn't challenged. The 8 dimensions of wellness are a holistic framework developed by Dr. Bill Hetler, co-founder of the National Wellness Institute. They remind us that wellness isn't just about physical health, it's about balance across all areas of your life. So here's a detailed breakdown of each dimension. Physical wellness. What is it? It's caring for your body as so that it can function at its best. The key aspects: nutrition, exercise, sleep, medical care, avoiding harmful habits, daily practice, eating balanced meals, rich in whole foods, exercise regularly, even walking counts. Prioritize rest and recovery. Stay hydrated. Schedule preventative checkups. Emotional wellness. What is it? It's understanding, managing, and expressing feelings in healthy ways. The key aspects: self-awareness, stress management, resilience, positive outlook, daily practices, journaling, or mindfulness, meditation, talking openly about emotions with trusted people, practicing gratitude or affirmations, seeking support when needed, therapy, Coaching and community, spiritual wellness. What is it? It's connecting with your values, your beliefs, and your purpose in life. It doesn't have to be religious. It's about meaning, the faith, values, connection to something bigger than self, meditation, prayer, or quiet reflection, practicing forgiveness and compassion, aligning actions with your values, spending time in nature or service, intellectual wellness. What is it? Keeping your mind active, curious, and engaged. Key aspects: lifelong learning, problem solving, open mindedness, creativity, daily practices. Read or listen to educational content, learn a new hobby or skill, engage in stimulating discussions, write, journal, or express creativity. Social wellness. This is building supportive, nurturing, and healthy relationships. The key aspects are connections, communication, belonging, and boundaries, daily practices, schedule quality time with loved ones, join community or interest groups, practice active listening, set boundaries for healthy relationships. Occupational wellness. What is it? Finding fulfillment, balance, and satisfaction in your work, paid or unpaid. Key aspects: purpose, career satisfaction, work life balance, and growth. Daily practices: set career goals aligned with your strengths. Take breaks to avoid burnout. Celebrate accomplishments. Keep learning new skills for professional growth. Financial wellness. What is it? Managing financial resources to reduce stress and build security. Key aspects: budgeting, saving, investing, living within your means. Track income and expenses. Build an emergency fund. Set short and long-term financial goals. Educate yourself about money management. Environmental wellness. What it is: living in harmony with your surroundings and practicing and protecting the environment. Key aspects: safety, sustainability, respect of nature, healthy spaces, daily practices. Keep your home and workspace organized. Reduce waste, recycle, conserve energy. Spend time outdoors to recharge. Advocate for eco-friendly practices. Why these dimensions matter to it together. Balance is key. Neglecting one area, say financial or emotional, can affect the others. They are interconnected. For example, financial stress can harm emotional wellness, or poor physical health can reduce occupational wellness. Holistic approach. True wellness means nurturing all eight, not striving for perfection in one. Simple exercise. Ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied am I with each dimension? This wellness wheel reflection shows you where you're thriving and where you may need more focus. Why intellectual wellness matters. Why does it matter so much? For one, research shows that mental stimulation supports long-term brain health. People who challenge themselves intellectually reduce their risk of cognitive decline later in life. It also helps in corners. In a world that changes quickly, the ability to learn new skills, think critically in what sets people apart, and on a personal level, intellectual wellness makes life richer. Someone who reads widely, explores new hobbies, or engages in deep conversations develops empathy and a more open mind. Here's a quick story. I once met someone who had spent decades in one career. After retiring, they started painting, something they had never tried before. They told me it made them feel alive again, sparking creativity in ways that haven't felt in years. That's intellectual wellness at work. Curiosity, finding purpose. Now, if you think about this, people who work for 40 years and retire, what happens? They don't have the same routine anymore, and they get bored easily because we're used to being active and doing things. And although when you think about retirement 20, 30, 40 years down the road, you think, oh, it would be nice not to have this routine. But our bodies, our mind needs that routine on a daily basis. So even when you retire, finding something that keeps you active and intellectually engaged helps in keeping up that intellectual wellness. So why intellectual wellness matters? It supports long-term brain health. Just like muscles need exercise, your brain needs stimulation. Studies show activities like reading, puzzles, or learning new skills help form new neural connections. Neuroplasticity. Regular mental challenges reduce the risk of cognitive decline, dementia, and memory loss as we age. And this is the biggest thing that we need to be concerned with. And I've seen it where when people retire and they don't keep a regular routine, they feel lost and they just don't know what to do with themselves. And one of the things that I do is every 6 months, when I go to the doctor, because I'm up there in age, they do a memory test. And mine is excellent because even though I don't have a physical job anymore, I've worked for myself for years. And what I did offline, which was speaking, training and development, going into corporations and doing train the trainer sessions, what I've done is moved it online where I'm constantly creating challenges. I'm constantly creating my courses and doing research, so that what that's doing is that's keeping me active, that's keeping my mind working. Plus, I will play those online games like the Microsoft Solitaire Collection or the Microsoft Mahjong, only because cerebral palsy affects how you see things. And I know that I need to keep that up and how I do things, how I see things. Therefore, I've constantly been doing things that have helped me to keep. And I do have times where I'll think I have to do something, go in the room, and literally forget what it was I went in there for. But it's momentary, and it's not long term, and it's understanding that by constantly doing the things that keep you moving will keep you from from the from the cognitive decline, the dementia, and the memory loss that often many people experience. So, what boosts adaptivity and changing world? Well, the technology, the careers, and society evolve rapidly today. Intellectual wellness keeps you flexible. Someone who actively learns can adapt to new tools, industries, or cultural shifts more easily. For example, professionals who keep learning stay employable even when industries change, enhances problem solving and decision making experiences, intellectual wellness, builds critical thinking skills. It teaches you to evaluate information, filter out bias, and make informed choices in your daily life. This means less stress when faced with challenges because you trust your ability to figure things out. And the one thing I'm going to say about that is I had a neighbor who recently moved, and she was beginning to suffer more and more forgetfulness, but she was also under stress because her husband had heart and lung problems, which were from long-term COVID, and then he got cancer. Plus, he also had Parkinson's, and she became his main caregiver and never took time away for herself. And because of that, that her only relaxation was either to watch TV or to knit and make scarves. And she was very talented and had at one time been selling on Etsy jewelry that she made. But due to her forgetfulness and her stress, it got to the point that she couldn't even do anything on the computer at all without help. So recognizing these things helps you to see just exactly how you can avoid some of the experiences by dealing and understanding and incorporating intellectual wellness into your daily life. So it stimulates creativity and innovation. Curiosity sparks new ideas. When you engage your intellect, you see connections others may miss. This leads to innovation, whether in business, art, or personal problem solving. Reading across disciplines, history, science, psychology, often inspires breakthroughs in completely different fields, builds confidence and self-efficiency. When you challenge yourself, learning a new skill, mastering a subject, you gain confidence. That confidence spills over into other areas, career, relationships, personal growth, intellectual growth. Reminds you, I can learn anything I put effort into. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit about some experiences I had early on. Cerebral palsy affects how the brain processes information. And therefore, in my case, I didn't learn just by seeing and hearing, that is, by reading and listening to the teacher. But if you give me that information and let me actually apply it and use it, that's how I learn. So remember this, no one learns in a cookie cutter way. The problem is in the classroom, they have to teach in a cookie cutter way because that's how the majority learn. But it does not mean that everyone learns that way. So you can't put a label on someone just because they don't do well on tests. It's more about how do they actually take the information and use it in their everyday life. Expands perspective and empathy. Intellectual wellness exposes you to different cultural viewpoints and experiences. Reading diverse authors or engaging in thoughtful conversations broadens your worldview. This makes you more compassionate, understanding, and skilled at working with others, improves emotional and mental health. Learning isn't just good for the brain, it's good for the heart. Activities like journaling, reading, or creative expression provide stress relief and help process emotions. Intellectual curiosity often creates a sense of flow, losing yourself in something engaging, which boasts happiness, increases life satisfaction and purpose. Intellectual wellness gives you a reason to look forward to each day. Growth creates momentum. You feel you're progressing rather than stagnating. Pursuing interests and passions builds a sense of purpose that's deeply fulfilling, strengthens societal connections. Being intellectual engaged gives you more to share with others. It helps you build conversations, friendships, and communities around shared curiosity. Book clubs, mastermind groups, or study circles all grow out of intellectual wellness. Intellectual wellness isn't just about being smart, it's about protecting your brain long term, adapting to a fast changing world, building creativity and problem solving skills, de- deepening empathy, and enhancing your overall sense of purpose and joy. When you keep your mind curious and engaged, you don't just live longer, you live better, richer, and more fulfilled. Barriers to intellectual wellness. Now, let's talk about what gets in the way. Routine and comfort zones. We get stuck in the same habits, doing only what's familiar. Digital distractions, social media, and passive scrolling eat away at time we could use for growth. Fear of failure. Many people think, I'm not smart enough, or worry about looking foolish if they try something new. Lack of time. Busy schedules leave little room for intentional learning. These barriers are real, but they're not impossible to overcome. The key is to create small, simple ways to exercise your mind daily. Let's go deeper into the barriers to intellectual wellness and why they matter. These aren't just satisfied surface level obstacles, they're patterns and mindsets that silently limit growth. What are some of the barriers to intellectual wellness? Over reliance on routine and comfort zones. We all tend to want to stay in our comfort zone because it's familiar instead of trying to get out of our comfort zone and stretching our mind, stretching our thought processes. When you think about the difference between what they call conservative and liberals, it's the matter of do they want to stay within that small circle of that mindset that only is their comfort zone, or are they actually willing to expand and really take in new ideas? When you see people telling you what book you can read because they don't like a certain book and therefore they think it should be banned, that's their own personal opinion. So the issue is that humans love predictability. It feels safe. Routines that never stretch your brain create intellectual stagnation. Always watching the same shows, reading the same genre, or doing the same type of work without exploring new ideas. Creativity declines, problem solving weakens, and opportunities for growth are missed. You feel productive, but your brain is coasting, not growing. Digital distractions and passive consumption. Smartphones, endless scrolling, constant notifications fracture attention. Instead of reading a book or reflecting, you spend an hour on social media feeds. Shortens attention span, lowers focus, and reduces your ability to engage in deep critical thinking. Passive consumption, binge watching, or down scrolling feels like learning, but often doesn't challenge your intellect. Fear of failure and limiting beliefs. The issue. Many people avoid new intellectual challenges because they're afraid that they'll fail or aren't smart enough. Avoiding learning a language or coding because it seems too difficult. This mindset blocks growth and robs you of confidence. Staying in your safe zone reinforces the belief that growth isn't possible, creating a self-fulfilling cycle. Lack of time and overcommitment. Busy schedules make it feel impossible to dedicate time to learning a mental growth. Parents, professionals, or students who always put learning on the back burner. Intellectual wellness becomes a luxury rather than a priority. We often confuse urgent tasks with important ones, leaving no space for meaningful growth. Stress and mental fatigue. When emotional or physically drained, the brain craves escape, not challenge. Choosing mindless TV at the end of the day instead of reading or reflecting. Chronic stress limits curiosity, focus, and motivation for intellectual exploration. You may think that you're relaxing, but you're actually avoiding the mental engagement that could emerge or energize you. Closed mindedness and rigid thinking. The refusing to consider new perspectives blocks intellectual expansion. Only consuming news that supports your worldview or rejecting ideas that challenge your beliefs limits creativity, empathy, and problem solving. Feels comfortable because it affirms what you already believe, but growth requires discomfort. Isolation and lack of stimulating relationships. Surrounding yourself only with people who think like you, or not having enough social interaction at all. Avoiding conversations with people from different backgrounds or fields limits exposure to fresh ideas and intellectual challenge. Keeps you in an echo chamber, reinforcing intellectual stagnation, neglecting curiosity. Children are naturally curious, but adults often lose the spark, asking fewer questions, no longer exploring hobbies, or dismissing learning as too late. Curiosity fuels growth. Without it, intellectual wellness withers. Telling yourself, I don't have time for hobbies, or that's not practical. So, why these barriers matter? For one thing, a rigid, less adaptable mind in a fast changing world, reduced confidence in learning new skills, higher risk of mental decline later in life, less creativity, fewer opportunities, and a flatter sense of purpose. The biggest barrier isn't lack of ability, it's the belief that intellectual wellness is optional. In reality, it's as essential as physical or emotional health. Practical ways to cultivate intellectual wellness daily. Let's dive into how to do this every 10 minutes a day with a good book. Stimulates your brain. Pair that with journaling to reflect or process new ideas. Take on an online course. Attend a workshop or listen to educational podcasts. Pick something outside your field. It will stretch your perspective. Draw, write, play music, or cook a new recipe. Creativity lights up different parts of the brain. Seek out people with different viewpoints. Debate ideas respectfully. It sharpens your thinking and builds empathy. Do puzzles, play strategy games, or practice brain teasers. They improve focus and mental agility. Instead of mindless scrolling, create content that inspires and educates you. What's one small change that you can make in your daily routine to challenge your mind? Maybe it's swapping 15 minutes of scrolling for 15 minutes of reading. Integrating intellectual wellness into your lifestyle. How do you weave this into your daily life? Listen to audiobooks on your commute or journal while drinking your morning coffee. Replace passivity with intention. If you normally binge watch shows, try alternating with a documentary or a TED Talk. Join a book club, mastermind, or group that shares your curiosity. Surround yourself with people who value learning. For example, read 2 books a year, learn a new language, or master new skills each quarter. Remember, small, consistent actions compound into sharper, more fulfilled mind. Let's go much deeper on practical daily ways to cultivate intellectual wellness. Instead of a vague checklist, here's a detailed playbook with clear actions and why they matter and how it fits into real life. So, we're going to quickly discuss some creative ways to deal with this, and then we're quickly going to talk about some other things. So, what do you need to do? Maybe read actively for 10 to 30 minutes a day. Reading exposes you to new ideas, vocabularies, and perspectives. It strengthens focus, comprehension, and critical thinking. Remember this, just because you finish your formal education does not mean that you stop learning. The problem is that when a lot of people finish their education, they think they're finished with learning and they don't even look. And whether you're learning to play the guitar, whether you're writing music, or whether you're doing anything, it's stretching your mind. So journal your thoughts. Writing forces you to clarify your thinking and reflect on learning. Learn something new every day. Lifelong learning keeps the brain flexible and curious. Take a micro course online, YouTube, Coursera, Masterclass. Learn a word in a new language each day. Listen to a short educational podcast while commuting. Practice creative expression. Creativity activates different parts of the brain, improves problem solving, and relieves stress. You write poetry, paint, doodle, or play music, even for 15 minutes. Cook a new recipe or rearrange your space to spark innovation. Treat creativity as play and performance. Engage in stimulating conversations. What dialogue with others challenges assumptions and sparks new thinking. Play brain challenging games. Puzzles or games improve focus, memory, and problem solving. Create your media intake. What you consume shapes how you think. Embrace curiosity in daily life. Curiosity keeps the brain open, flexible, and eager to learn. Integrate learning into routines. Small, consistent habits are easier to sustain than big efforts. Listen to audiobooks while driving, walking, or exercising. Set intellectual goals. Goals give direction and a sense of progress. Cultivating intellectual wellness daily isn't about cramming your schedule. It's about replacing mindless moments with mindful ones. Read instead of scrolling. Journal instead of bottling thoughts. Learn one thing new instead of saying, I don't have time. Create, converse, and stay curious. Now, today we explored what intellectual wellness is, why it matters, and the barriers that hold us back, and the daily practices that strengthen it. Your challenge this week is to choose one activity that stretches your mind. Read a book, learn a new skill, or spark a conversation with someone who thinks differently. Ask yourself, how can I feel my mind, or how can I fuel my mind today, or grow tomorrow? And remember, if you learn how to take care of yourself, grow, then you too will, in essence, continue. Intellectual wellness is an important aspect of how we express our lives. And I look forward to seeing you next week, where we discuss another topic that puts you into a mindset that helps you grow.